are doing just a really quick review of something we've already studied and talked about this year, which is habitat. And today we're going to focus on aquatic habitats, okay? The word aquatic has the root word aqua in it. What do you think aquatic habitats mean, Marcy?
The habitat for water.
Very good. Okay, so we're going to talk about water habitats today. Did these pictures give you a clue?
Yes.
Okay, so on here we have you ever seen a habitat like these before?
Yes.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, all right, so let's go over some of these habitats. So the first one, this is a picture of a pond. So a pond is a small body of water with land that surrounds it, okay? This is very similar to a pond. It's a body of water and it has land all the way around it as well. However, it's much larger than a pond. It's called a lake, okay? Or in Spanish, lago, see? Okay, all right. Then we come down here and we have two pictures. I noticed they are very similar. However, this one is wider than this one, and this one is more narrow. It's a little smaller. Pequeño, right? Un grande. Okay? So we're noticing those. Okay? So if it's a wide body of water that goes between two pieces of land, it's called a river, right?
Yes.
Okay? And what do you think this one might be called? If this one's a river, and this one looks similar, but it's smaller, what might it be called?
A creek.
A creek. Very good. So we're looking at these different bodies of water, okay? So we all have bodies of water around us. Our largest one just near us is Lake Lanier, right? We're all familiar with Lake Lanier. How many of you have been there? Awesome, hands down. All right, we also have the Chattahoochee River near us, which is down by Buford. You know, we're right here in Flowery Branch, so this is close to us, right? And we have both those bodies of water. All right, so now we are going to be talking about how these are habitats for animals, and some of the animals that live in these habitats are fish, frogs, turtles, salamanders, and other ones, okay? If you leave to go to another class, you may go now quietly and close the door when you exit, okay?
Okay.
All right, so now we talked about some of the animals that live here. So now today we're gonna really focus on water quality and water pollution. So really quick, we're gonna watch this quick video on what water pollution is.
Moby, why do you keep turning the water off? Dear Tim and Moby, what does it mean when a river is polluted? From Amanda. Hey there. A body of water becomes polluted when foreign substances damage the water quality, making the water undrinkable and dangerous for organisms to live in. People put stress on their water supply every day, using up clean water and releasing pollutants into the rivers, lakes, and groundwater. Every body of water has some ability to deal with foreign materials. Wastes can be dissolved or broken down. They can be dispersed or spread out, or they can be recycled as food for plants and microorganisms. Usually, a body of water can neutralize foreign substances, and the quality of the water isn't harmed. But when it can't handle all the substances released into it, the water becomes polluted. Pollution can enter a body of water in a few ways, as acid rain, as eroded soil, as runoff containing fertilizers and pesticides, as chemicals released from industries, or as sewage and other waste from cities and towns. Sometimes pollution doesn't even look like pollution. Often, factories or power plants will use water to cool down their machinery. When that water is released, it's hot. If there isn't enough room for it to disperse, it'll heat up the body of water and cause life to grow faster than normal. Thermal pollution like this can push out native species and leave too many nutrients in the water. Well, however water pollution begins, it ends the same way. When too many foreign substances are present in a body of water, the supply of oxygen is cut off. Without oxygen, organisms begin to die, leaving room for anaerobic microorganisms, which don't need oxygen to survive.
Hey, Clinton.
These organisms release gases like
Can I have
methane and
Aiden from
hydrogen
Olive to check
sulfide,
out?
leaving
I'll say
a
no to that,
foul-smelling,
thank you.
waste-filled body of water. Well, it's not just the fault of the factories. Thanks to laws passed in the 1970s, we've managed to cut down on a lot of the pollution from companies dumping stuff straight into the water. These days, most water pollution is created by each of us as we go about our business from day to day. Yep, you too. Luckily, we have ways of cleaning up a lot of that water. Plants that treat wastewater can purify it before it's released back into rivers and lakes, and researchers are always working on new ways to cut down on water pollution. But the best way to help is to be careful with your water. After all, you wouldn't want to have to drink that. Oh, that's why you turned off the water? That polluted lake, that's not our water supply. We get our water from the reservoir, so you can turn it back on.
Okay. So now we learned a little bit about water pollution, what it is, okay? Now we're going to learn about water quality. Water quality has to do with how clean our water is, okay? So I want you to listen to this, it's real quick, okay?
Water is one of our planet's most important natural resources. In fact, it's a resource we literally can't live without. How much do you really know about water? Did you know there's as much water on the earth now as there was when the earth was formed? There will never be any more or any less. Did you know that 97% of that water supply is salt water in the oceans and unusable for our daily needs? That another 2% is frozen in ice caps and glaciers? So that leaves just 1% of the planet's entire water supply, our rivers, lakes, and groundwater, to meet everyone's water needs. Here's the catch. Many of those rivers, lakes, and groundwater sources are impaired, endangered by pollutants. That's right, this limited resource we all use day in and day out is in serious jeopardy. From plain old dirt to toxic chemicals, pollutants in our waterways are threatening our health and the health of the environment. So how are these pollutants getting into our waterways and what can we do about it? That's the complicated puzzle we'll explore more today. Solving the water quality puzzle is an enormous challenge simply because there are so many pieces to consider. The ways we use water, the practices that threaten it, the different pollutants in the water, and the sources of those pollutants, and hydrology, the water cycle, and ways we've interfered with it. Complicating the puzzle even more, these pieces never combine in exactly the same way. Every community's water quality problems are unique and depend entirely on which pieces are in play. Simply understanding the role each piece plays isn't enough. To solve problems, you have to understand the fit between the pieces, their relationship to one another. The way they're at work within your community create your specific water problems. Ready to dive in?
All right, so now I want you to think about what is water quality? What is it? And how do you think we can tell what the water quality is? What do you think it is? What is water quality?
I think it's like how clean the water is.
Yeah, it's how clean it is. And why do you think it's important to have water quality? Why?
So animals and us can have the health that we need to survive.
Very good. Okay. All right. What do you think might happen if our water gets polluted? What might happen?
Then we can get really, really sick.
Okay. What else?
Animals will die.
Okay. What else?
life would eventually wipe out?
The oxygen will no longer be, and other bugs that can live without oxygen will get like in the bodies of like animals and stuff, and they'll die.
Okay.
We're probably gonna have food because you have to lack water plants to get food.
Yes, ma'am.
We won't survive.
Okay. All right. So today we're going to perform an experiment. Okay. So on your table, don't go back yet, but on your table you're going to have a container that's clear that has water in it that is filtered water that came out of our sink. And then in just a minute, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do with that water, and we're going to do a experiment where we show what does water look like when it becomes polluted, and we're going to see what we notice. On your sheet, there's one recording sheet. That means that the leader at your table is going to write on that recording sheet. Everyone doesn't have it. I put it in the place of who is writing, okay? Then you'll find your other materials. You gathered a leaf outside, you gathered a stick outside, and I put some soil on your table. I'm going to give you specific instructions of how to go about putting these in, so we're not reaching, we're not fighting, we're not grabbing, okay? So very quietly and carefully, don't tip over your water, tiptoe back to your seat. All right, I like how quiet you're going back to your seats. Thank you so much. So in your clear container, you'll notice it already has water in it, okay? So one person at your table is going to take the soil, and you are going to you can sit right there. You're going to dump that soil in the container, okay? So if I give you that soil, you're going to go ahead and dump it into the container. Go ahead and do that. Put that soil, the whole thing, in that container. The whole thing. Dump the whole thing in there. All right, good job. Okay? So we're coming around, we're looking at what does that look like. All right, we're going to give it a minute to settle in our container. Okay, notice how that water changed. Go ahead and look at the bottom of that water. What do you notice about that water? How is it changing? Go ahead and talk at your table.
It's kind of get bubbly a little bit. It's turning brown. It's getting heavy and you're weighing down, and then it goes to the bottom of it. Can you like shake it up? Can we like shake it? Yeah, can we?
Hold on 1 minute, okay? All right. If you can hear me, clap one time. Okay, so now you have each collected a small leaf and a small stick. Some of your sticks are too big for the container. Please don't put them in there. If they're muy grande, don't put them in there, okay? So only use the small sticks. So go ahead and put your sticks and leaves in there carefully. Go ahead and put your sticks and leaves in there. And if you want to use the stick to push the soil down a little, you can. Okay. Do you think that soil over time gets pushed down naturally? How would soil over time get pushed down?
Rain.
Rain. Okay. How else might soil get pushed down naturally? How else?
The air.
Air. Okay. All right. So the wind would blow it and push it down and move it. All right, so now we should have go ahead and put your leaf in too, okay? All right. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our sheet, our observation sheet, and we're going to wait 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, we're going to notice what happens to the color after 5 minutes, okay? All right. So on your note-taking sheet, it says, what did you notice about the water quality after waiting 5 minutes after the soil, leaves, and sticks were added? So we're going to wait. We're going to look at the bottom of our water quality. We want to notice what happens to the changes here. Okay, so make sure you're looking at that underneath of what is happening on there. Underneath.
It looks like an island. It's like the water of the gravity is kind of like getting down, and the leaves are falling. Hold on.
So what do you think about the animals living in this water? What if there were fish and frogs underneath, or tadpoles underneath in this water? What do you think about?
They would very sick. They would get very sick.
Why?
Because it's holding the air up.
It's infested with soil and like bacteria.
And over time, they're gonna get more and more sick, and they won't be able to breathe, and they'll die.
Okay. And class.
Yes.
Last week we talked about, or not last week, before Thanksgiving, we talked about a natural phenomenon that occurred, and it washed all the soil into the rivers. Do you remember what we talked about? What was it?
It was a hurricane.
It was the hurricane? And what did the hurricane cause?
Damage.
The soil to fall down.
Okay.
Rivers
There you go. Rivers to get flooded. Very good. So it caused rivers to get flooded. Okay. So on here, when we're having all this dirt being dumped in our water, do you think that shows that the rivers, what they would look like when they're getting flooded and everything's washed down?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So remember how we talked about how that could make it so the oxygen and everything else the fish couldn't get. Okay? So we want to think about those things, and we want to think about how that affects our habitats around us. Okay? So now go ahead. It's been 5 minutes. Go ahead, and if you're the note taker, you're going to listen to what everyone says they notice about the water quality and the clarity. You're going to write down notes about what happened.
So I
Is the note taker taking a turn to like talk?
Yes, you can talk too.
Okay.
Okay, so that once we put in the soil and mixing it up a little bit.
Flies are attracted to
And then once we put the dirt in after 5 minutes, it got polluted, and then we put the sticks. S-O-I. Okay, what did you say? I know how to spell bacteria.
It's BACTERIA.
we stirred it up.
The soil on the bottom. Okay, so they stored it. No, it's stirred it.
So do you think this right here would be good for the animals to live in? Why?
Because it's dirt. It's really dirty.
It's really dirty. Do you think oxygen moves easily in that water? Mm-hmm. So would you want to drink that water? No. No, not right now. So leave it alone, let it settle, okay? Right? All right, raise your hand if you need more time to finish writing the answer to that question about what you notice. All right, quickly, how did it change? How did the water change? Write what happened once we added those things. Please stop putting your hands in it. That's okay.
And the lighter gets
Don't put your hands in it.
it got once we put in the soil, so this one was sits in the. It was so heavy. Once we put it in the soil and yeah, so this is where we have to store it. It got mixed with.
All right, so no, don't mix it up, just let it settle. So now I'm gonna come around and I have food coloring. So the food coloring, I want you to think about how does it change the water quality. And the food coloring is gonna act like it's a polluter. A polluter, what is a polluter? Something that does what? Yes, sir. Do what? Does it make it clean? If we talk about pollution, what does it do? Yes, ma'am. It makes it dirty. It pollutes the water. So we're going to add what looks like a different color, and we're going to add that to our mixture, and we're going to take notice of what happens. So this is going to act like chemicals around farms or runoffs, or it's going to act like chemical spill off. It could act like an oil spill. So we talked about there being oil spills that pollute our waters. So we're going to see what happens to our water when we add this to it. So go ahead and look on there and see what you notice about that. Don't move it. Don't move your water because we're adding to it. We want to look at that bottom part. We want to look at the clarity. We want to notice what happens when we add in chemicals. Ooh. All right, so really quick, we don't want to touch it right now. We want to just wait for it to settle. So that means that everything is mixing together naturally on its own. It might change color, so you might want to notice, does it change colors? Does it start at one side? Does it spread to another side? We want to look at what happens, okay?
The color changes to green.
No, I put it at the bottom dark on green.
It made the bottom green.
Oh, guys, you're waiting for the chemical, so you're watching it. So make sure you keep watching it. Look at the bottom. Notice what's happening. And we're going to wait and we're going to write it down in just a minute.
I think the sticks are gonna, or the leaves are gonna turn green because of the green.
Okay. All right. All right. So now on your sheet, it says what happened as soon as we added the coloring. What happened when we added pollution?
No, I swear it turned a little green.
So you have to look underneath where we added it. Where did we pour it in? Which side?
But it's barely turning green.
Okay. All right. So it barely turned green. So write that down. Write down anything that you noticed. What did you guys notice as soon as we added the color?
It made the bottom green.
It made it bottom green?
As much.
You couldn't. All right, so I want you to write both of those. I want you to write down that the bottom turned green, and I want you to write that you couldn't see the soil as much.
Yeah, and right below the surface, it's getting like light green.
Okay. What did you guys notice as soon as we added the pollution?
The water turned green.
The water turned green immediately? Okay.
Yeah, and it looked more like, it looked more green.
It looked more what?
It looks like
Mountain Dew.
Hey, Susan, what did you say? It looked more what?
More like Mountain Dew.
Like melon?
Mountain Dew at the bottom.
Mountain Dew? Okay. It looked like Mountain Dew on the bottom. Okay, so we're comparing it. We're using similes.
it looked even more worse for the animals.
Looked worse for the animals? Okay, write that down. What did you guys notice as soon as we added it?
It turned green and it started bubbling a lot.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Oh, no, not yet. All right, we're waiting just a couple more minutes, and then we're going to record the next one. Okay?
I can make it change.
Okay, so make sure you add as many details as you can about what happened when we added the food coloring to it, okay?
Can we add a little
All right. Nope, we're not adding more to it.
I wish this one.
All right.
Everything's shaking in ours.
Well, that's because you guys are you're knocking the table. So if you're off the table, it's not going to shake. So when everyone keeps bumping it, it is going to shake because it's mainly water. It makes me think of when we studied the swamp, right?
Swamp, yeah.
And we learned about how it was called the trembling land. So
Flies attracted to this.
do you think flies would be attracted to it?
Yeah, because the fly keeps flying.
Oh, really? There's a fly in the room?
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's 2 flies.
There was? Oh, no. All right. All right, so guys, it's been about 5 minutes now since we added it. So go ahead and notice, what does it look like now? Is there more green, less green? Did the green move? Describe what happened.
It turned to look like Mountain Dew. I thought it was supposed to be.
Do you think there's more green now when you look at the bottom?
Yeah, it looks like it looks like pickle juice or Mountain Dew.
Yeah?
This supposed to go up here, not right there?
After 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, supposed to be right here.
We'll fix it later. All right, so what did you notice about waiting 5 minutes? What happened? What did you guys notice?
Darker.
It looks like a big swamp.
It looks like a big swamp. I like how yours kind of separated and you can see the different leaves in there. You can see the different colors and the soils on top more and in between. It's pretty cool looking, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. What did you guys notice about yours?
It turned less green.
Oh, it's less green. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So yours was less green. Some of theirs is more green. Okay.
Stop hitting the table. I didn't mean to. The dirt is still staying at the top, so.
All right. So yours, the dirt's more on the top.
And the leaves.
And where did the pollution go?
It just
The pollution, the green. It went all the way to the bottom now?
Yeah.
So it moved? Interesting. All right, in just a couple more minutes, we're going to look at it again. Try not to touch it. Try not to knock your table so we can let it just settle and see what happens. Really carefully watch what happens to the different parts. Watch what happens to the sticks. Watch what happens to the leaves. Watch what happens to the green in it.
What are we going to do after we're finished?
I'll tell you when we get to the end.
Theirs is super light. They're green.
So how do you think that animals would be affected with yours?
They would like not even be able to breathe because it's at the top and they can't get air.
And like
Okay.
and the green stuff is supposed to be oil, right?
The green is supposed to be the pollution. The green is the pollution, it's the chemicals. So what do you think about where the green is? How do you think that's going to affect the animals in their habitat?
Because they don't usually go to. Some animals don't just go to the surface; they go to the bottom of the ocean.
Uh-huh.
It's gonna be green. They can't.
And it's extra pollution down there.
Oh, so the pollution is moving?
Yeah.
So maybe it's going to affect more of the animals? Okay. All right. What do you guys think? What do you think about the animals living in yours? If this was a pond or a lake, what would happen to the animals that live there?
Because the leaves are so huge.
The animals will slowly suffocate, and then they'll go down and drown.
The animals might drink it, and that would be bad for them because it has lots of chemicals in it.
Okay. All right. All right. What do you guys think? It's mixing more?
Yeah.
Okay. I can see some leaves a little easier in here now. And yours, we can't really see the chemicals too much. It's all like mixed together, right? It doesn't really stand out, whereas theirs is more separated, right? So what do you think about animals living in yours? How would they survive?
They wouldn't.
Why?
Because the water is dirty, because all the soil, because most of the soil sunk down, and they can't drink this water because it's dirty.
What about the chemical? What about the green chemical that's in there?
They can suffocate.
Where's the chemical now? When it first spilled in, it went into just one corner. But now, where's all the green?
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's all below the surface, and it's all throughout the bottom.
The yellow.
So did it spread more? Did the chemicals spread more in the water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you think that would be a good environment for animals to live in?
No.
Okay. All right, couple more minutes. Write down what you notice. You keep writing what you notice until we get to that 10-minute mark, and then we're going to write how it ends. Okay?
But the leaves are getting covered up with the dirt a little bit now.
Go. That's not what we're doing. Go.
Does Prince like to be called by Princeton or Prince?
We're not worried about our names right now.
Never asked us like how it would affect sea life.
Okay, so I'm here. We're just talking about how it affects animals in there. So any animals living in that environment that come in contact, how would it affect them?
Okay, but like you asked every other table.
Oh, I missed your table? Okay,
Yes.
so how would it affect the animals in yours?
So the animals would like choke on the soil, or